In today's digitally driven landscape, screens are everywhere. We stare at laptops during the workday, scroll through social media on smartphones during lunch, and pull out tablets to read or do one last email check before heading to bed. These daily habits can leave us feeling perpetually drained and almost addicted to technology. For parents who understand the grips of living in a digital age, it can be especially scary to introduce your daughter or son to this world. How many hours of tech use per day is acceptable? Should you monitor their social media apps? All are valid questions that millions of parents ponder as they hand a smartphone over to an eager kid.
When my kids became old enough to want to have cell phones and Instagram accounts, it occurred to me that I needed to really get my act together. I needed to be able to help them negotiate this world, and like anything else, you think you know what you're doing until you're thrown in the deep end, and then you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I spent 3 years researching what all the data and the evidence is telling us about the impact on kids and what some of the best practices are, and so that I could help mentor my kids to become the kind of responsible digital citizens that they're going to need to be.
That's Juliana Miner, a parent herself and author of the new book, Raising a Screen Smart Kid. Embrace the good and avoid the bad in the digital age. Miner spent years speaking with educators, psychologists, and kids themselves to find out how parents can best teach children how to navigate the digital world responsibly. So, at what age should a parent really cave and buy a smartphone for their kid?
The age at which kids are getting their first phone, it tends to be trending younger and younger every year. So whereas 5 years ago you saw older teens getting their first phone, and more recently when I began researching the book it was like around 12, and now we're seeing it trend younger and younger. I would really advise families to wait to get that first phone for their kid when there's a very strong, compelling reason to do so, where it makes a lot of sense logistically, that your kid is getting more independent and needs it for school or needs it to coordinate rides or practices, or so that you're using it with a purpose, that it's as much a tool as it is a toy.
Access to the internet unlocks a world of constant connectivity through several different sites and social media platforms.
Consider that there were no iPhones prior to 2007, and that Instagram really didn't launch until 2012. All of this is new. The landscape, the social media landscape, has totally transformed. I had a conversation with someone today who was like, I hate Snapchat. And I'm like, yeah, but your kids are 2 and 4. By the time they're on social media, Snapchat's going to be for old people, and it's going to be something else. It's fascinating how quickly everything changes and how quickly the technology has been adopted by the entire population. 15 years ago, no one had a cell phone, and now it's like 96% of the population has one.
The rise of this technology and the power it has to shape who we are make it so important to really take the time to have that conversation with children before they gain access.
If you were teaching your kid to drive, you wouldn't just hand them the keys and give them a license. This is a whole new world, and so much is going to be open to them that you're obligated to kind of walk them through it, especially at first. If nothing else, your kid's not ready for a phone until you're ready to have a really honest conversation with them about porn and explicit content on the internet. It's there. It's going to find them. Even if they're not looking for it, eventually they're going to see something that they shouldn't. And you need to provide that context so they know what to do about it. And they understand that it's going to be there. It doesn't make them a bad person if it shows up on their phone. How should they respond to it? Being curious is one thing. Seeking it out is something different. It's our job as parents to help them figure out how to manage that and navigate it.
And part of that teaching process includes making sure kids are being safe online. Explain the potential consequences of sharing sensitive information or leaving behind a digital footprint that can't be erased. Once kids gain awareness of what's out there, the internet can be empowering, academically and personally, helping them to find a niche community that they otherwise wouldn't have.
One of the consistently cited benefits of social media is that it can really help kids build social capital. It can help them make friends. It can help deepen friendships. It can help create networks of acquaintances even that can open up opportunities to make new friends and to join teams or find out about auditions for plays or whatever it is that your kid is interested in. And I think that's particularly relevant for kids who maybe are socially awkward or for whom those in-person interactions are more difficult. It levels the social playing field a bit for them. And there are also kids who maybe love Japanese anime, and it gives them the opportunity to connect with others around like a shared mutual interest, like something that's real. Or they want to play ukulele and share videos of themselves learning songs or teaching others how to play songs. All of that is great.
While access to the internet and social platforms can reap many benefits, it can also be a slippery slope. Miner says it's vital for kids to understand what's reality and what's not.
On the one hand, I think that our kids watch YouTube the way that we watched television, that they're the YouTubers they follow, the Instagrammers or like the streamers, the gamers that stream, like that's their TV, the way that like watching MTV was for my generation. It's totally different. But when it comes to something like Instagram, where you're looking at that kind of influence or a celebrity that you follow and watch their Snapchat stories, it's really important to put that into a broader context for your kid. They really understand that what they're seeing on Instagram is like a movie preview. It's not the whole movie. They're seeing a part that is designed to sell you on a certain image. It's carefully curated. It's not reality.
And these lessons also apply to adults. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the social media reality of what life should look like.
All of us get pulled down into those rabbit holes. Most people choose to share the more attractive parts of their life, not the real life. And for young people who kind of know that but don't really get it, it can become difficult because they're comparing someone else's best life to their real life. And it's never going to be equal because real life is hard and dirty and messy and you get pimples and, that's rough. It's hard stuff for young people to be able to place that all in perspective.
The lack of reality on social media can be dangerous for some kids, particularly those suffering from depression or anxiety.
Really where depression intersects with this tech use, like the thing that's very clear in the evidence is that the more you use it, the worse you feel. So if you have a kiddo who has been diagnosed with depression or is showing you those symptoms, it's really important that you talk to them about not overusing and just trying to use it moderately. You don't have to stop using it. Moderate use actually correlates with pretty positive results, that you are able to keep up with people and stay in touch with friends and see what's going on. And then you log out.
Allotting a specific amount of screen time each day is good for both kids and adults. It sets a good example for kids and allows for important face-to-face time with family. However, when setting that amount, how do you know what's best for your child?
At what age are we talking about? Because that's going to be different for a 10-year-old than it is for a 16-year-old. And then how do we tease out when they're on a screen and using it for homework or to text their parents back about dinner versus just mindlessly scrolling on Instagram? And it's also going to be different based on the individual kid's well-being. Is the kid sad? Does the kid need to connect with their friends to get some support? Does the kid have depression and should not be on their phone more than a couple hours? I think parents just really need to read their kid and focus on what that kid needs at that time.
Monitoring your daughter or son's full digital footprint is impossible. That's why reinforcing healthy tech habits as they grow and keeping an open conversation about what they encounter online is so important. To find out more about this topic and our guest, Juliana Miner, visit viewpointsradio.org. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter @ViewpointsRadio and subscribe and listen to our show anytime wherever you listen to podcasts. This segment is written and produced by Amira Zaveri. I'm Gary Price.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-835-1478. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not, it will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-835-1478. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher for donating. Call now, 1-800-835-1478. That's 1-800-835-1478.
New research shows that healthy lifestyle choices may dramatically reduce the risk of dementia. 5 studies presented at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference 2019 in Los Angeles show that lifestyle factors such as a healthy diet and exercise may even counteract genetic risks for dementia. Dr. Maria Carrillo is Chief Science Officer at the Alzheimer's Association.
While there is no proven cure or treatment for Alzheimer's, a large body of research now strongly suggests that combining healthy habits promotes good brain health and reduces your risk of cognitive decline.
Along with a healthy diet and exercise, steps such as building a cognitive reserve through formal education and cognitively stimulating jobs also help provide maximum memory benefit. The new research suggests that adopting 4 or 5 healthy lifestyle factors rather than none or only one may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's dementia by nearly 60%. Find out more at alz.org.
Electric scooters are fun, easy to use, and seemingly all over the streets. But several new studies find that e-scooters are also causing a growing number of serious injuries. One study by the CDC shows that 45% of those hurt have head injuries, while another 27% have broken arms, wrists, or hands. Half of those hurt say a pothole or a crack in the street caused their crash. Dr. Vidor Friedman is president of the American College of Emergency Physicians.
Emergency physicians are treating an increasing number of scooter-related injuries. Many of these are serious and can be life-changing, but many of these injuries are avoidable. The number one thing you can do to avoid serious injury is to wear a helmet. Scoot safe and avoid an emergency.
Studies show that about a third of those hurt are first-time scooter riders. Dr. Friedman advises to start slowly, follow the rules of the road, and be an alert rider. More safety tips are online at emergencycareforyou.org/scootsafe.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of MediaTrax Communications. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook to learn about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on iTunes. Plus, you'll always find podcasts of our segments and information about our guests at viewpointsonline.net. Join us again next week for your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints. Coming up next week.
There's an old saying in Nepal that educating your daughter is like watering a flower in another man's garden.
What's being done to stop human trafficking in Nepal? Then,
the first barrier to get over with our customers is that freshness perception.
Farmer's Fridge is changing the vending machine game. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.